Hi, everyone. So we're about to start session 2 of our readers workshop. And most of you are on session 2. A few of you might not be if your person did not come for session 1. So if you did not get to do session 1, you'll just repeat, you'll just do that for the first time this week. And if you're ready for session 2, that's where you're going to be session 2. So I want to introduce you to, here's my slide deck. I'm using the same slide deck for everything, so I don't have to make multiple slide decks and I can keep track of everything really well. So when you click on the session 2, it will take you to the next session for October 24th. So I'm going to just talk you through how this one's going to go. So session 2 should begin with a little bit of just a being present checklist, and you can do this however you wish, but I like to just remind them about having the camera on and making sure that we're treating one another well. It might be worried about how we feel about one another, even though it's our second session. We want to make sure that we see each other in ways that make us feel good, and we're still building trust at the beginning. So having our camera on helps us recognize facial expressions and gestures. Students want to make sure that they have their pencil and their notebook and their hydration. If they have water, they might have a snack, that's okay. And then just reminding them to, be present with their heart and joy. Like they may or may not have wanted to be in the session. Their parents might have signed them up for it. They might also be really excited. So sometimes I have some things in here about just reminding them to bring some joy and all of that kind of thing. So any of those things would be just fine. Let's see. Some of these things don't really make sense for our groups. Okay, I have this other slide that's hidden. You can see over here. That's hidden. It's our sort of the lesson overview. I want to make sure you do that each week. So it's the same standard as I used the week before. So you might notice the similar standard each time, focusing on author's purpose. This week, we're going to be reading Man in the Water, and we're thinking about the genre and the author's purpose. So this is a news story. It's an op-ed. So it's not a hard facts kind of news story. It has an opinion piece in it. There's some creative writing in it. So we want to really be thinking about all those different things that the author's doing in this genre in particular that we wouldn't necessarily find in a news report or something. So we want to identify authors' techniques and be able to talk about that. And mostly tonight is our quantitative baseline data collection. So session 1 was qualitative baseline data collection, finding out their interests and about their family, about their reading life, things like that. And this one, we're trying to find out what their reading needs might be. So I have that kind of blocked off. We don't have to do that. And then this other slide is house talk. I have that blocked off too. You don't have to show this slide to your students. You shouldn't even have any slides showing. This is a good time just face-to-face. What are you doing? How's school? What was happening today? What are some of the highlights? And then be sure to tell them yours also so that it's kind of reciprocated. Okay, I have a slide to remind you to record and to remind me to record. So you would hit the record button now and let them know it's for instructional purposes. And then you can get back sort of to your slides. And so our agenda for session 2 is that we're going to do a write-in and share. We're going to do a little bit of reading. I have some follow-up questions from last time, and then we'll set our goals for the next 4 sessions, because I think that there's 6 or 7 in total. Maybe it's 5. Wait. Yeah, so there's a total of 8. Okay. So here's the write-in, and you can borrow these or make up other ones. So the first write-in is if you want to tell a story. So you might have students who really enjoy creative writing. And here's an image, and they might want to talk about what's happening in the image, but take it from the perspective of the character on the branch, or from the perspective of one of the keys, if they want to personify the keys. or maybe from the perspective of the forest, if they want to personify the forest as the narrator. So it's really important to talk through the prompts because you're eliciting and surfacing some very specific language. So you heard me talk about narrator and personification, setting, character. So I just said all of those words as I was just explaining the prompts. It's really important to do that. Then we have an argument. So I don't know how you feel about tacos or food, but this might be of interest to you. Taco trucks should be allowed to come to schools at lunch. On one hand, why would that be good? On the other hand, maybe why it wouldn't be. And then what's your perspective? So when you want to say an argument, write an argument, you want to make sure you talk about both sides before you say your opinion. I have a how-to essay here, which I would love because I really want to learn more about my person. So tell me step-by-step how to do something you know really well. So something that you're an expert in, I'd love to learn more about that one. And then I have a vocabulary word, arcane, which means something that's understood by few, mysterious or secret. So because it's no longer taught in schools, people are concerned that cursive writing is becoming arcane. So I would encourage you, if you want to go with this one, to write about something that feels especially arcane to you, or write about something that seems to be arcane to people, but not to you. It's not arcane to you. It's really clearly understood and really important. So I would give them some opportunities to talk about what seems interesting to them, what seems interesting to you, and then you're going to write. They're going to write, and you're going to write, and you're going to do it in the notebook. This way you can keep the screen up, looking at the prompts, and they can be writing, and you can kind of see how that goes. I would do this for like 5-ish minutes, and you want to tell them if at any point they run out of ideas, just change topics, but just keep going for the 5 minutes. And you could put a timer up here too if you want. After you share, after you write, you want to do a quick share. So they could read an excerpt or the whole thing. You want to hear them read. This is really important. You want to hear them read. You want to hear them read something. Don't have them just summarize. The summarizing is not the same necessarily as how they actually write. But if you're interested in hearing their summary skills, you could ask them to summarize. That might be a good diagnostic tool. And then say something specific. So something, a phrase that you relate to, or a phrase that got you thinking, or help them point out some sort of technique or craft move that they're using. So that's a really great way to, again, elicit and do some teaching about writing and reading just in the sharing. And then you should share too. Share. And make sure they say something to you. So show that they're listening. It's really important that they reciprocate and give them some of these sentence stems. Okay, after that part, then you're going to say our focus tonight is on reading The Man in the Water by Roger Rosenblatt. And then after this week, we're going to read about we're going to read, different genres and texts around a topic of interest to the student. So I'm choosing this one this week, and then in the future, they get to choose their topic and what's interesting to them. And then I'm going to design lessons based on that. So this one, just going to bear with me. We're going to read this one together. And so for you, teachers, like we're trying to do lots of diagnostic and baseline data here. So tell them that this is Man in the Water by Roger Rosenblatt. It's published in Time Magazine, July 25th, 1982. Don't do any before reading or during reading activities, because this is baseline data, what they can do without those strategies. So you're going to be tempted to like pause and debrief and all that, but don't do that. Just kind of read through. So you should read a majority of it, invite them to read. If they struggle with reading, or it's very choppy or unfluent, or they don't have the prosody to read, just tell them they did a great job and that you're going to take it from there. So we don't want them struggling or feeling bad, but you do want to get a sense of how their fluency is. Okay, so you read, invite them to read. I notice there's like 2 slides that are the same. Please double check this, because I just copied and pasted the story in here and I didn't double check to make sure that I have everything. The story is down here. It's going to ask you to make a copy. Okay, I think this is right. Okay. So you're going to read this with your person, maybe then invite them to read, and then you can read and maybe alternate reading. Okay. When they're done, you're going to have them fill out that sort of assessment document that we did in class. So when you click on this, it's going to ask you to make a copy. And then you're going to give them editing access. So you want to make sure that you change it, the sharing, so that they can edit right here. And then you're going to copy and paste the new one. So you have the new one in your slides and you don't lose it. Okay. So here you're going to ask the student to fill this out. You can share your screen. If they have trouble like accessing and typing, they can tell you what to write, but really we want them to write it. We want them to be doing it as best as you can. So each one of these is a box that they can type in. And you want them to try to fill the line as best as they can. And if it's longer, they can write a little bit longer. So that's kind of the idea. It's 10 questions, 1 page. It's really important that you give them plenty of time to do this. And so that's probably all you're going to have time for tonight is like a little writing, and then you're going to read and have them fill this out. And you don't want to talk about this too much. You don't want them to change their answers. If they have questions, do your best to answer, respond to them, but try not to give them any answers. You're trying to assess what they know and don't know. If they're struggling, just say, skip it. Doesn't matter, skip it. Doesn't matter. It's not first grade or anything like that. We don't want them to get deflated or anything. So that's really important when you do that. Later, you want to assess it. You're going to score it. You'll notice that these recall questions, summary questions, structural questions, inference questions. So you're going to score it. And if they got both right, you'll put a 2. If there's only one right, you'll put a 1. You get the idea. So you're going to just give them a 2, 1, 0. And that's how you're going to kind of get a sense of moving forward, how you're going to design your lessons. And then if you have time, the last part of it is I would encourage you to try to find out what to prepare for next week. So possible topics you might already know, and possible genres. So you're going to kind of make a 5-week sort of unit plan for them around what they're interested in. And they might even change it week to week. That's fine too. But if they say they're really interested in learning about rodeo, maybe you're going to bring an article about rodeo, an op-ed about rodeo, maybe a blog post, maybe a poem, a short story. So each week will be something about rodeo, but in different genres and forms and topics. So maybe they say this would be a good place for you to sort of generate some things. So whatever they tell you, you write it down. It might come from the week before when, like, for example, when Derek and I were writing the poem, we had some ideas of, like, Derek has 3 dogs. So maybe he's really interested in reading articles about dogs or dog ownership or opening a business of dog daycare or any of those things. And then you can pull articles to read each week. So you're going to use those topics of interest and the data from their scores to help you make some decisions about what to teach the following week. So after week 2, everything is going to be dependent on the individual student. If you have any time, you can ask them to share like a spoken word or a short text, and then whatever closing routine you want to have. If you want it to be Jamboard, if you want it to be a Google form, if you want to do an exit ticket, whatever you wish, and then remind them that they're going to be back here on the 24th at 8:15. The same Zoom link, everything's going to be the same, and that you're going to send them a reminder. So I think that's kind of it. So session 2 is still about building relationships. It's also about gathering baseline data so that you can design future assessments. And, just finding out who they are and what they need and what their goals are. And again, it might be for enrichment. They really want to dig deep. They really want to have rich conversations. Others might be more resistant and not interested at all and not really giving you anything to work with. So you're going to have to go back to your questions from the week before to find out if you can gather some ideas there. So I hope this was helpful in kind of thinking through how you want to do session 2.